Hello, everybody. You can't see me, but I am here. I promise you I'm here. Uh-oh. Yeah. So, about that. Is it stable? Aha! And we're back. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, welcome to tonight's stream. And hopefully we're going to kick some butt. Let's just put it that way. Alrighty. So, here we go. We are reading, if you have just joined us for the first time, Fire on the Water by Joe Dever. It is the Lone Wolf the Kai series. It is choose your adventure, so every section of the book leads you to multiple choices that you can follow on from, and you can take it from there. Now, we have just managed to slay the Helghast, and we have managed to win with the magic spear, which I will add to our inventory. So magic spear, it doesn't say what type of magic, but that's okay. So magic spear is now in our inventory, which is fantastic. And our journey, in case you haven't been following along, is we are trying to get from Holmgard in the far west all the way over to Hammerdal in the far east to get the Suma Sword, this great sword that will help us defeat the armies of the Helgadad, which are invading from the west. And so that is our quest. Currently, we find ourselves somewhere in between Gorn Cove and Port Bax. I think that's where we were. We're somewhere there, or perhaps we've left Port Bax already. I think we've left Port Bax already. Anyway, time will tell as to where we are. It has been a long week since we last gamed together. Now, I will put up a poll in chat with the numbers that we have as options when they come up. Every section that I read that does not contain combat, we regain 1 endurance point, thanks to our Kai discipline of healing. So here we go. Starting on 320. Now, if you are a recent purchaser of the books and you've got the hard copy books, the beautiful hard copy books, those books are different to these original ones. These original ones were the ones that were released in the 80s, the early 80s, the 90s. And so the new ones in hardcover have been updated. So bear that in mind. They contain new additional content as well, based on notes that Joe had written whilst writing the books. And so there is different stuff in there. So that might account for why there is a discrepancy. You search his pack, that's the dead Helghast that we have just slain, and are horrified to find that it contains a scroll of human skin, upon which a message has been written in a strange runic script. The only word that you can make out is Kai. You also find an evil-looking dagger with a black blade and a block of cold obsidian. These items bear the signs of the Dark Lord's craft. Something is very wrong here. You drop the pack as quickly as if it were red hot and turn to mount your horse. To your dismay, you find it is no longer there. The Thals have stolen it. Wearily, you realize you will now have to continue your journey on foot. Turn to 138. So we should... What I'm going to ask chat to do, if you please, there's 25 of you. Please just keep track of the number of hit points that we need so I don't have to constantly stop reading to add a number. So we're now back up on 5. All right, 138. You have been walking for nearly 2 hours when you reach the peak of a hill and see the Duranor forest stretched out before you. The road bears eastwards and enters the trees. I beg your pardon. And enters the trees at a point where a large wooden tower has been built. you can see the silhouette of a soldier on guard. If you wish to continue on your journey towards the watchtower, turn to 232. If you would rather avoid the guard, make a wide detour and enter the forest further south, you can turn to 244. Now, I know we have done this before, but try not to use meta-knowledge if you were part of last week's stream. So, poll is up. There are 23 people in the chat, so that means we need at least 11 votes before I will close the poll. Now, if you're listening along, this is fantastic. Glad to have you with us. Don't worry about not adding your vote. I'm sure there will be folks plenty to vote on this. We're up to 6 now. We've got 8 votes so far, just need 3 more, and it looks like we're going to continue on the journey towards the tower. We do have the Seal of Hamadal, which is this get out of jail free card, basically. 9 votes. 11 votes. There we go. Poll is over. Now, remember, if you are watching this stream and you do find it enjoyable, just tap that like button. It takes nothing and means everything for the channel. Okay, so 232 it is. 232 it is. 2, 3, 232. You are less than 20 yards from the tower when the guard steps forward and demands to know your business. You notice that the soldier is wearing the red coat of a Duranese man-at-arms and realize that you have reached the border of Duranor. You need to find some way of getting past him. We have the Kai discipline of 6th sense, so 149. You can sense that this guard is a loyal Duranese soldier. If you were to attempt to bribe him, he would likely consider it a grave insult and attack you. Now, the question is, do we show him the Seal of Hamadal, or do we try and find another way around? Do we pretend to be a merchant from Port Bax? So 223, we show him the Seal of Hamadal. 250, we pretend to be a merchant from Port Bax and try and get our way in that way. 1 endurance, yes, that's quite right. Are we supposed to be on 8 endurance? I thought I was keeping quite good track. I'll put it on 8. I don't mind putting it on 8. 223, show him the seal. This will give away our cover. And if it does, well, then the Dark Lords will know that I've made it this far. On the other hand, if we pretend to be a merchant and he questions us, we have no merchandise. What would we say we are selling? Stories? This magic spear? I don't think that's very believable. Well, let's see what happens. Oh, unanimous. We're showing him the seal, 223. The guard stares at the magnificent ring in awe. The legend of the Seal of Hamadal is well known to the people of Duranor. It is said that of all the treasures of the Duranese, the Seal of Hamadal is one that they would not wish returned. The guard's anxious face shows he clearly recognizes the ring's dreadful significance. I'll not hinder your urgent mission, but I cannot help you except to set you on the road for Port Bax. Continue on this forest path, and you will come to a fork near a stunted oak tree. Take the left track. It's the quickest way. You thank the loyal guard and push on once more into the forest. A mile or so along the road, you come to the fork and take the left track. It leads to a stone bridge across the Rhymer Rift. The waters of the Rhymer Rift are over a mile deep and up to 2 miles at its widest point. Near to the bridge, you find a signpost. Port Bax, 3 miles. You breathe a sigh of relief, for you have arrived there in under an hour. 265. Right. That puts us on 9 endurance points, I believe. Yeah, he couldn't have given us a horse, could he? Yeah. At dusk on the 10th day of your quest, you experience your first sight of the magnificent city of Port Bax. Like a diamond set in the green velvet shore, the towers of the city glimmer in the pale light of a waxing moon. To the north is the harbour and the formidable war fleet of the Duranese navy. To the east, beyond the moss-covered city wall, stretches the forest of Durano, and there, on the crest of a hill, stands a castle tall and proud, and the crowning glory of this beautiful port. You enter Port Bax through an unguarded gate in the green city wall and make your way through the darkening streets towards the harbour. As you turn into a tree-lined avenue, you notice the wide stone steps of a domed building to your right. You stop to read the brass plaque. City Hall. Despite the late hour, the doors are open. That's rather curious, isn't it? Well, let's see. We could go to 84, which is to enter the City Hall. We could continue on to the harbour. Oh, do we have tracking? We do have tracking. My apologies. Sorry. Always look at the next page. Whenever we have a skill, we will use it rather than poll 252. You try to remember some of the stories told to you by an old Kai master called Wise Hawk. He was envoy to Port Bax for many years, and he knew and loved the city as well as any native Duranese. You recall him saying that the consulate overlooked Allen's Square in the naval quadrant of the city. There is a sign to your left pointing along the avenue. Naval quadrant, half a mile. Certain this is the right direction, you walk confidently along the tree-lined avenue. 191. At the end of the avenue, the cobbled street turns abruptly to the right. Opposite this point is a tall white stone building with a plaque above the door. Port Watchtower, Harbour Authority. You can see that the cobbled street ends at a high stone wall. There is a large red door. There is a large red gate in this wall, and it is guarded by 2 soldiers. Beyond the gate, you can make out the masts of ships moored in the harbour. If you wish to enter the Port Watchtower, turn to 318. If you wish to approach the red gate, turn to 246. All right, so do we wish to enter the Port Watchtower on 318? Or are we going through the red gate, 246? Let's see what we're doing. Quick sticks. And we are on 11 endurance points. Thank you for keeping track for me. Well, the watchtower would seem to be the right place to go, I guess. Or maybe we should just speak to the guards at the gate. I mean, they'll know what's going on, right? Right? I mean, they should. They're the guards. They're guarding the gate. I want to go through the gate. So I should talk to the gate guards, not the watchtower, which watches the gate. Who watches the watchtower? Interesting. Interesting. All right, our viewership has gone up, and so we need to get a few more votes in there. Just 2, by my reckoning, would be perfect. So if you haven't yet voted, 318 gets us into the watchtower. 246 gets us to talk to the guards. 2 votes would swing it, as currently we're on 318. 318 is the big one. There's the 2 votes I was looking for, and that puts us still on track for 318. Thank you very much. 318. You are standing in a large empty hall. Opposite are 2 doors, each with a brass sign above them. If you wish to enter the door marked White Passes, turn to 75. If you wish to enter the door marked Red Passes, turn to 62. Or we could leave and approach the guards at the end of the street on 246. I think this is a no-brainer, folks, so I'm just going to jump straight there. We're going to go to Red Passes on 62 since the gate is red. If we die, it's on me. You enter a large room full of ledgers and files. A man wearing the uniform of a Duranese naval officer is seated opposite at a large desk. He peers at you inquisitively from behind a huge book and says, "You must have pressing business in the naval quadrant to apply for a red pass at this late hour. I shall need to see your access papers and proof of your commanding officer's authorization." If you have collected the necessary documents on your quest, turn to 126. Well, we certainly have not. If you do not have these documents, you have to show him the seal of Hamadal, 263. 263. I know we've done this before, but that is how these books work. Welcome to Laura Bones. Rawr, you're not that late. We haven't done anything much that we haven't already done already. So there you are. The man stares at the seal with a look of shocked dismay. Without saying a word, he gets up from his chair and beckons you to follow him up a flight of spiral stairs that lead to a domed chamber. Here you meet the captain of the port watch. He listens intently as you tell him of the war in Sumaland and of your urgent mission. "Issue a red pass immediately," he orders. "Top priority." You collect your pass, leave the port watchtower, and hurry along the street towards the harbour guards, 246. Now we discover what happens at 246. It's tried to get us to go there a couple times, didn't it? One of the guards steps forward and demands to see your pass. If you have a red pass, turn to 202. All right, I hope you're keeping track of our endurance points, folks, because I'm not. The soldier salutes and allows you to pass through the red gate. You walk into an open square lit by the tall beacons lining the quayside. To your relief, you sight the marble pillars of the Sumaland consulate and the familiar sun flag of your country flying high above it in the fresh night breeze. As you climb the stone steps, you are recognized by the Sumalandan guards on duty at the main door. They disappear inside and quickly return in the company of a tall, grey-haired official. His anguished expression suddenly changes to a smile of joy as he beholds your ragged Kai cloak and tunic. "Oh, hope beyond hope! Thank the gods that you're alive! Kai Lord, the scant news that has reached us from the west has caused us great alarm. Great alarm." You are ushered inside and taken immediately to the envoy of Sumaland, Lord Lieutenant Rygar. Turn to 31. Okay, this is a long one. Dear, oh dear. Your first meeting with the Lord Lieutenant comes as something of a shock. You had perhaps half expected him to be a servile old man, as are the envoys of the southern lands that plague your king's court with their delegations. The man clad in heavy chainmail standing before you is neither old nor servile. You are soon to learn that Lord Lieutenant Rygar is an exceptional man. Born of a Sumalanding father and a Duranese mother, he has become something of a legend in this city. In the last decade, he has led an alliance of the nations to victory against the invading ice barbarians of Kulti. Wise in peace, fierce in war, you could not have wished for a better company on your quest for the Sumasword. Rygar orders that a sumptuous meal be served. It is by far the best food you have tasted since the war began. During the feast, you recall the events that have brought you to Port Bax and reflect on the daunting challenge that still lies ahead of you. After the meal, Rygar sends for his physician who attends to your wounds. His potions restore 6 endurance points. Then he advises you to sleep, for you are to leave with the Lord Lieutenant for Hamadal in the morning. Well, I think that puts us on full now, which is fantastic. Early next day, you are taken to an enclosed garden at the rear of the consulate where Rygar and 3 of his best soldiers await you on horseback. They are to be your bodyguard and guides on the 230-mile ride to Hamadal. The streets of Port Bax are just beginning to come to life as you ride through the town, passing under the moss-covered city gate. You now feel confident that your mission will succeed. Pick a random number from the random number table. All right, random number generator, generate us a random number. And the first one for tonight is Booyakasha, A 0. 0 to 4. 176. 176. Oh, we have an illustration. For those of you that wanted to know what Lord Lieutenant Rygar looks like, this is it. Lord Lieutenant Rygar. For 3 days and nights you have ridden along the highway as it follows its route up the river valley of the Duranon. In the distance are the peaks of the Hamadal Mountains, one of the highest ranges in all Magnamund. The capital lies at the very center of these mountains. It is now the morning of the 14th day of your quest. You have made camp near a waterfall, where the fast-flowing Duranon drops over 120 feet. You are about to leave when a group of 6 hooded riders appear on the forest highway above, blocking your exit from the camp. Lord Lieutenant Rygar demands that they let you pass, adding that you bear a royal dispatch. In Duranor, it is a treasonable offense to hinder a king's messenger, but unfortunately the cloaked riders do not seem impressed by his warning, and they remain where they are. If you do not care for reason, perhaps our swords will turn your tails, says Rygar. He draws his sword and orders his men to attack. If you have the Kai discipline of Sixth Sense, turn to 322. There is a strong aura of evil surrounding these cloaked riders. Your Kai sense warns you not to follow Rygar and his men on their impetuous charge. You shout a warning, to them to stop, but it is too late. You cannot be heard above their battle cries and the thundering hooves of their mounts. 277. I knew it. I knew it was too good to be true. As Rygar and his men gallop nearer to the riders, one of the cloaked horsemen draws a black staff from beneath his robes. A fierce blue flame shoots from it and explodes beneath Rygar's horse, sending him head over heels into the dense undergrowth. Rygar's men furiously attack with their swords. Their sharp blades slice clean through their enemies' cloaks and bodies, and then you realize that they are having no effect. For these are Helghast, fell captains of the Dark Lords, one of which killed us twice. They have the ability to adopt human form, but they are invulnerable to normal weapons. The cloaked staff-bearer gives a hideous laugh, then tears at your mind. He is using a very powerful mind blast against you. You know that you are outnumbered by a superior enemy, and you must act quickly if you are to survive this ambush at all. If you wish to abandon your horse and dive for cover in the thick undergrowth, turn to 311. If you wish to aid Rygar's men, turn to 59. Oh dear. I mean, we can't harm these creatures. They're immortal. So what do? We don't have a choice, really. I mean, we could try and aid the men, I guess, but maybe they're sacrificing their lives so that I can save millions, okay, hundreds of thousands back home. That's worth something, isn't it? So far, we're almost split. Oh, and there it goes. There it goes. No, not split anymore. One more vote should do it. And that will probably... Oh, 60-40 split. Not bad. 311. Dive for cover! You come to rest face downwards in a tangle of thick bracken. The ringing of steel and the horrible cries of the Helghast echo through the trees around you. You are stunned and cannot move until a hand grabs your arm and pulls you upright. It is Rygar. His face is bloodied and his armor is battered and charred. We must flee these demons, Lone Wolf. Strength and steel will not avail us here. You glimpse the silhouette of 6 Helghast on the road above. Their minds bent on the slaughter of Rygar's men, they fail to see you both slip away under cover of the wooded hillside. We spend a lot of time in the wooded hillside. I kind of like it. For 6 hours you run without rest. The Helghast are on the highway, and you are forced to make your way through the steep and wooded foothills to avoid the risk of capture. Many times you feel that you just cannot go on, but the pain and the fatigue are too much to bear. Each time you falter, you are spurred on by Rhaegar. You marvel at his endurance, for he is not a young man, and he is clothed in the heavy armor of a Summerlanding knight. By nightfall, you have reached the entrance to Tarnalin, the western tunnel through the Hamadal Mountains. The 3 tunnels of Duranar were excavated during the Age of the Black Moon, and each tunnel is over 40 miles long and passes through the huge circle of the Hamadal Range to the capital. The tunnels provide the only access to the city. Rhaegar sits beside you and takes some bread and meat from his pack. "Eat this, Lone Wolf. You must sustain your strength for the journey to Hamadal. From here you must venture alone through the Tarnalin. I shall remain here and hold the enemy back for as long as I have the strength to fight. Do not argue. That your mission should succeed is the only thing that matters." If Rhaegar is to hold off the Helghast, he will need a magic weapon of his own, for his sword is of no use against the creatures. What a guy. If you choose to give him your magic spear so that he can defend the tunnel entrance, turn to 118. If you do not possess the spear or do not wish to give it to Rhaegar, turn to 102. Oh, inner conscience! Kai, Dark Lord, what are you to say? Should I give him the spear? He's been so kind, so generous. He has helped us in every way. But perhaps I should keep the spear, for what if the Helghast are ahead of us? They seem to have known everything that we have done before we've even done it. He is right. My mission will save the entire kingdom rather than just one man. I don't know what to do. I'm guessing keep the spear. We have almost 40 viewers. I need one more vote, and we're currently 47%, 53%. Oh, I should do the right thing, but maybe I need to think of the bigger picture here. Oh, what to do. That's what we're doing. Just in. Oh, by the skin of its teeth, 55, 45, 102. We're keeping the spear. I feel terrible. He's been so kind, but, well, Tarnalin is a wonder to behold. Over 100 feet in height and width, the tunnel runs to the capital on the far side of the Hamadal Range. Usually it is alive with the traffic of wagons and people to and from Port Bax, but as you enter, you find it deserted except for an overturned fruit cart. The road that disappears into the torchlit tunnel is empty and quiet. As you walk along the paved road, you get an uneasy feeling that perhaps the Helghast have arrived at Tarnalin before you. You have been walking for nearly an hour when the tunnel splits in 2. We have tracking, so we'll turn to 325. This is where we got last time, folks. Pity it took us half an hour to get here now. You sense that the left tunnel is the quietest route. Let me try that one again. You sense that the left tunnel is the quickest route to Hamadal by about 2 miles. Just before you reach the junction, you come across a large puddle in the center of the highway. You notice that 2 sets of footprints, about the size and shape of a man's boot, trail away from the water and lead off into both tunnels. The prints are still wet, and you judge that they were made within the last 20 minutes. Do we go left or do we go right? Left is the quickest, but perhaps right would be a better way of going. I think it's academic, for I remember the options that come up next. They're pretty much the same, whichever way we go, but you never know. You never know. 64, we go to the left. Right is 164. I mean, if we go to the left, it is shorter by 2 miles. I mean, that's a good 10, 20-minute journey cut off. How far can you walk? No, 10 minutes? Can you do a mile? You probably can. Maybe we should go right, though, because maybe that's the path that they don't expect you to take because it's the longer path. I'm torn. The poll is not. They know exactly what they want to do by quite a large margin. We're ending the votes. We are going 64. We're going to... Where are we going? 64? Yes. We're going to the left. Shorter route. Absolutely. Ahead, you can see a passenger wagon similar in design to those that use the coast roads of Ragaddorn. The horses have been cut free, and it appears to be deserted. You notice the bodies of 3 soldiers lying beneath it. Their uniforms are heavily blood-stained. 229. Your sixth sense, warns you that the wagon contains an evil presence. Do you wish to enter the wagon? That's 134. Do you wish to dash past the wagon? That is 208. Or do we want to go to the right path? Now, I'm not even going to put that in as an option because, well, quite frankly, the right path has exactly the same options. And we know this because we did it last time. So are we going to enter the wagon or are we going to dash past the wagon and run for safety? I think dashing might be a bit foolish. It's he says, as chat immediately votes 100% for dashing past. I mean, entering the wagon is really dumb with a spear because you really wouldn't want to fight with that. But at the same time, dashing past opens up your back. Let's see what happens. Oh, lots of votes came in. No, we are dashing past. Apparently, that's the route that we're going to take. Did I end the poll? I didn't end the poll. End the poll. We are dashing like Prancer and 208. I'm going to keep my finger there for no particular reason. You have just passed the wagon when you hear a noise behind you. Spinning around, you scan the walls and ceiling, but you can see nothing in the gloom of the tunnel. 134. Suddenly, from out of the darkness, there is a blood-chilling cry. Hi. You find yourself staring into the glowing eyes of a Helghast. As it tries to close its fingers around your throat, you scream, in terror, and fall to the ground. The hideous creature tears at your tunic, rending the cloth with its black claws. And we have a picture of it here. Not very human-like. I mean, in a way it is. Yes. So there we go. Right. If you have a magic spear, turn to 38. We do indeed. Oh, please. You grab the shaft of your spear, and thrust it upwards into the ribcage of the Helghast. It screams, in agony and rage, and releases its grip on your throat. You roll away in time to see the hideous creature writhing and on the ground, desperately trying to pull the spear from its body. If you wish to grab the shaft of the spear and drive it deeper into the Helghast, turn to 269. If you wish to run away as quickly as possible, turn to 313. Well, I mean, I feel like it's trying to pull the shaft out, so there's a hope that it's going to live, so probably stabbing it again makes sense, but maybe we should just run, but these things clearly can run faster than we can. I mean, clearly. It's terrifying. Terrifying, I tell you. What to do? What to do? Look at it writhe and groan and moan on the floor. Oh dear, oh dear. 16 votes and it was unanimous. 18 votes, there's now one voice saying, no, run away. We have our quorum. 91% of you want to stick this thing with a spear again. 269. I'm keeping my finger here for no particular reason. 269. The horrific sight of the writhing creature fills you with loathing for the Dark Lords and their evil minions. When the Helghast has finally crumbled to nothing, and you are quite sure that it has been destroyed, you remove the magic spear and wipe the tip on its smouldering robe. Anxious to leave this place, you run down the tunnel as fast as you can. 349. You have covered nearly 3 miles when you see a group of wagons in the distance. They have been strung out across the highway to form a barricade. Soldiers in red uniforms line the roofs of the wagons, and a large crowd of people have gathered behind them. You can hear their excited chattering echoing along the tunnel. As you get closer, there is a sudden silence, as all eyes turn to stare at you. A detachment of 10 soldiers, led by a knight whose shield bears the royal arms of Duranor, advances towards you. If you wish to attack these soldiers, turn to 87. If you wish to raise your hands and walk towards them, turn to 284. Well. 87 or 284. I mean, looking at what we did to that Helghast, I agree with chat. I'm like, wait, we could have killed those 6 Helghast without a problem. Do we attack these soldiers? Could these be more Helghast? I mean, that's like a whole crowd of Helghast. That would just be insane, right? So we'll just raise our hands. We have the Seal of Hammerdal. We have a magic spear, which just kills Helghast, which apparently they carry around with them, which is really useful, by the way. So what do we... I mean, yeah. It's... What do we do? Nearly time. One person just joined the stream, which means I need one more vote. 94% of you are saying we raise our hands and walk towards this mob. 87 of you say... 87 is we attack the soldiers. I don't think they're Helghasts. There we go. Thank you. We raise our hands. 284. Hey, buddies. Look, I just killed this nasty down there. We have an illustration. All right, I'll give you the illustration shortly. Cautiously, the soldiers surround you and take your weapons and backpack. The knight steps forward and raises the visor of his helm. Who are you? What is your purpose in Tarnalin? He demands in a gruff voice. You tell him that you are a Kai Lord from Summerland on an urgent mission to King Aelin. He seems unconvinced by your words until you show him the seal of Hammerdal. Then, without hesitation, he orders his men to return your belongings and ushers you through the wall of wagons. Beyond, you can see a horse-drawn carriage waiting in the center of the crowded tunnel. Back to Hammerdal without delay, he orders the driver, and you are thrown back in your seat as the coach moves off at breakneck speed. You soon learn that the knight is Lord Axiom of Rhyme, commander of King Alan's personal bodyguard. He was on his way to Port Bax when the Helghast entered Tarnalin. He and 10 soldiers were the only ones to survive a deadly encounter through these evil creatures. During your ride through the Tarnalin, you must eat a meal or lose 3 endurance points. The journey to the capital will take 5 hours, and you are advised by Lord Axiom to get some rest. As you slowly drift off to sleep, you begin to dream about the Sumasword. You picture a triumphant return to Holmgard and the defeat of the Dark Lord siege. Perhaps it will be a good omen of events to come. Lord Axiom of Rhyme, pleasure to meet you. Turn to 9. So we have to lose 3 endurance points because of reasons. We don't have any meals, and apparently escorting prisoners means you don't get any meals. So fine. I mean, we're going to get it back pretty damn quickly, I'm sure. It is early morning on the 15th day of your quest when you open your eyes to the breathtaking spectacle of Hamadal, the mountain city. The capital of Duranor, unlike other cities in the Last Lands, does not need man-made fortifications. The encircling peaks of the Hamadal Range offer a far more secure protection to the people within. The carriage speeds through the lush farmlands surrounding the city with its many towers and wide streets. On a hill in the very center of the Hamadal stands the King's Tower, a magnificent structure of glass and stone. As the carriage halts at the tower gates, you suddenly realize for the first time that as a wielder of the Suma sword, your destiny is to become part of the oldest legend of the Last Lands. 196. I have never got this far before, chaps. King Aelin IV sits alone in his domed tower, viewing his mountain domain through one of the many portals of tinted glass. You and Lord Axim are formally announced as you enter the chamber, and you respectfully bow to his majesty. Then Lord Axim removes the seal of Hamadal from your finger and walks over to the king's side. For nearly an hour they talk, their somber faces reflecting the seriousness of the situation. There is a short pause of silent meditation, and King Aelin suddenly rises from his throne and addresses you for the first time. Alas, the Dark Lords have woken once more, and once more does Sumalun come in reach and in search of our aid. I had prayed that my reign would be remembered as a time of peace and fulfillment, but in my heart I knew it was to be otherwise. The king removes a golden key from the pocket of his white robe and inserts it in a marble dais standing in the center of the chamber. A gentle humming fills the room as the stone cover slides back to reveal the hilt of a golden sword. Take the sword, Lone Wolf. It is foretold that only a true son of Summerlin can release the powers that lie within its blade. As you grasp the glowing hilt, a tingling sensation runs up your arm and radiates throughout your body. If you have the Kai discipline of Sixth Sense, turn to 79. If you do not possess the skill, turn to 123, 79. If this turns out to be a Dark Lord illusion, I am out. The power coursing through your body so overwhelms your senses that you become oblivious to your surroundings. You instinctively raise the blade above your head where a shaft of sunlight suddenly catches upon its very tip and floods the chamber with a blinding white glow. At that moment, the true power of the Suma sword is revealed to you. This weapon was forged long before the Sumaland, the Duranese, or the Dark Lords dwelt in the Last Lands. Its makers were a race that men would now call gods. To release the power that it contains, only a Kai Lord may wield it. Should it be used in combat by anyone who is not a Kai Lord, its power will fade and be lost forever. When used in combat, the Suma sword will add 8 points to your combat skill. 10 if you possess the Kai discipline of weapon skill with the sword. No, we do not have that, so we get 8. Plus 8. I can live with that. I can live with that, you know. That's not too bad. The Summer Sword. It has the ability to absorb any magic that is used against its bearer, and it doubles the total of all endurance points lost by undead enemies whilst in combat. It is the only weapon in all of Magnemund that can kill a Dark Lord, and for this reason the Dark Lords are bent on thwarting your quest. You now realize you hold the only power in Magnemund that can save your people. Slowly, the light starts to fade and you become aware of Lord Axim's hand upon your shoulder. Come, Lone Wolf. There is much preparation for your return to Sumaland. You sheathed the summer sword in its jewelled scabbard, and allowed Lord Axum follow Lord Axum as he leaves the king's chamber. Make the necessary adjustments to your combat skill now that you possess the summer sword. Summer sword! Ah, I hate that combination. Summer sword. Note the powers of the sword under the special items section of your action chart. There's a picture of the sword here. It looks quite nice, as a matter of fact. I have the summer sword. 40. Not many votes on this one, I'm afraid. The muster of the army and the preparation of the Duranese fleet takes 14 days to complete, during which time you remain as a guest of the king in Hammerdal. As each day passes, your despair for your besieged countrymen of Homeguard grows stronger, and you pray that they have enough strength to resist the Dark Lords until your return. Every day of your reluctant exile, you devote long periods to exercise and meditation. You are also visited by a Duranese herb warden called Madden Rendalim, who is famous throughout the Last Lands for his knowledge and skill in the healing arts. He restores all the endurance points you may have lost so far on your adventure, and he gives you a potent Lamspur potion that will restore 5 endurance points if swallowed after combat. I remember writing this as a kid. Lamspur, because you couldn't fit it into the book's character sheet. Potion of Lamspur. So 5 endurance points. 5 EP. All right. He is also the bearer of some sad news. The body of Lord Lieutenant Rhaegar was found in the forests near to the entrance of Tarnhelm. He was killed by a Helghast. If you have the Kai discipline of 6th sense, turn to 97. You're a filthy liar. He's not dead. Tell me he's not dead. No, apparently you're not a liar. He's dead. You have noticed during your rigorous training exercises with the Summer Sword that your Kai discipline of 6th sense has become more sensitive than ever before. You knew exactly what Madden Redalim's sad news was long before he actually told you. You may find that your improved 6th sense will be an important advantage on your return to Homeguard. 152. 152. F? Okay. 152. Not a lot of choices, I'm afraid. Right. Why are we all effing? F. I'm confused, chat, but that's nothing new. It is the early morning of the 33rd day of your quest when you ride into Port Bax with Lord Axum at your side. Oh, for the fallen hero? Oh, that's sweet. Full endurance. Yes, you're quite right. 22. Sorry, I was getting sidetracked. There's so much reading going on. It's like, I'm such a boomer. Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. Right? I mean, I don't even know what a boomer is, so that's fine. I make a lot of noise. How do you know? The preparations for war have been completed. The galleons of the Duranese war fleet lie at anchor in the harbour, impatiently awaiting the order to set sail for Summerland. On board each ship are many brave soldiers from the Mountain Kingdom, a tough army of skilled warriors eager to face the Dark Lords in battle. Each man has sworn to avenge their besieged allies, or die in the attempt. You are to sail back to Holmgard aboard the flagship Duranor, a warship whose great curving prow and tall masts emphasize its sheer power and strength. You and Lord Axum are taken aboard and welcomed by Admiral Kelfin, commander of the fleet, and then the fleet prepares to set sail. In less than an hour, the harbour lies far behind you. The domes of Port Bax are now merely dots on the horizon. Pick a random number from the random number table. I have to press enter, and here we go. 5. 49. For 3 days and nights the fleet of Duranor spread canvas and sail swiftly towards the Holm Gulf. But although the voyage is fast, each ship in the fleet is cursed by misfortune. Sails tear, ropes mysteriously untie themselves, and timbers warp and leak. The men become short-tempered in the cramped quarters, and fighting, often to the death, is commonplace. By the 3rd night of the voyage, Lord Axim is close to despair.
Never have I suffered such a wretched journey. No enemy has been sighted nor battle fought, yet half my men are either ill or wounded, and I have lost 2 of our finest ships. We have been jinxed by an evil moon. How I pray that would wane, for even if we are to arrive in Homeguard this very night, I fear we're too weak to break the siege.
As he speaks, you can see the dawn of the next day breaking. You think it might bring promise of relief. But the calm waters that now surround the fleet contain a far deadlier threat. Turn to 100. Oh no. There's an illustration overleaf. A veil of sea fog has rolled across the still ocean from the broken spine of land known as the Curlundian Isles. Strange, dark shapes hide within the mist. They are growing larger, and slowly the distinct outlines of ships become plain. "Prepare for battle!" the admiral's cry is repeated along the many decks of the Duranese fleet. "All hands on deck!" As the black ships approach through the fog, a horrific sight befalls you. They are death hulks, sunken ships crewed by the living corpses of drowned sailors. They have been summoned to the surface by great wizardry, and they are closing for battle. Suddenly, the fog vanishes, and you can now see that the death hulks bar the entrance to the Holm Gulf. In the center of the line is their sinister flagship. Swiftly it sails towards you, a huge ram protruding from its black prow. As it rips its way through the hull of the Duranor, you hear the admiral's last desperate order. "Abandon ship! I'm the worst admiral in the world!" He doesn't say the last part, but that's what I'm thinking. You are now in the thick of the enemy fleet, and the Duranor is sinking fast. If you wish to jump onto the deck of the Death Hulk flagship, turn to 30. Alternatively, if you wish to dive into the sea and try to swim to another Duranese ship, turn to 267. Oh my goodness. Well, here's a picture. Do we jump on board? I feel like they've sunk us, so we should sink them, by cracky. Let's get in there. I mean, we've got the sword. We're invincible. Well, we're not invincible, actually. We have very little hit points. 22 is not a very large number at all. But I feel like we should somehow make up for this useless admiral. I mean, this admiral who was taken completely by surprise. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. All right, let's see where we are. We need 2 more votes, but it's pretty unanimous. Pretty unanimous. 30, we jump onto the ship. Or 267, we jump into the waters. I need 1 more vote. Looks like 30 it's going to be. We've got the votes in. 89% of you. It's definitely 30. You land on the rotting timbers and crash straight through to the deck below. Ah! You are unharmed by the fall, but the stench of decay that fills your nostrils is overwhelming. You clamber up and unsheathe the sumo sword. 4 ghastly zombies stagger out of the gloom, their twisted hands extended towards your throat. You must fight them as one enemy. They are undead creatures, so remember to double endurance points that they lose during this combat. They are immune to Mind Blast. So we are on 25 if they are immune to Mind Blast. The enemy's combat skill is 13, which I don't think puts them in a very favorable ratio. So we are currently on a ratio of 12. So here it is. We swing the Summa sword, the first strike of this magnificent blade, and we roll a 2. Well, we decapitate the zombies in a single thrust. Ha ha! But they did unfortunately manage to land a blow against us too. 268. 258. The stench of the ship is making you choke. You lose another endurance point. You must get out of this vile hold or you will suffocate. It's terrible. It's terrible. We have Kai Sixth Sense, so we don't have to read the options. 276, 272, 272, 272. Someone or something is approaching the door of the hold from the other side. If you climb out through the shattered deck, you will leave your legs vulnerable to attack from below, and there is no other way out. You sense that it is an evil creature of some considerable power. Raise the Summa sword and prepare for combat. That was a non-combat chapter entry, so I'm just going to get that 1 hit point back there. Turning to page 5. If it's a Helghast, we got this. We'll just stab him. The door bursts open and in rushes a Helghast. Its black sword raised. You strike the creature as it enters the hold and open a terrible gash in its chest. It lets out a hideous cry. Oi. But although badly wounded, it leaps forward to attack you. You must fight this creature to the death. It is undead and so will take double damage, but it is immune to Mind Blast. Ha! I will just use the spear and stab it with a spear. That did the trick last time. But no, apparently not. All right. Second combat of the Summa sword, and here we go. Ha! A 5. The enemy loses 18 endurance points. That puts it on 2. And we lose 2, putting us on 18. Swing again. Yes! The enemy loses 24 endurance points, killing it instantly. And we lose nothing, because we are awesome. 166. You make your way up a flight of stairs and onto the crowded deck. Fierce battle rages all around you as the Duranese fleet is engulfed by the rush of ghostly death hulks. Suddenly, a flash of searing flame shoots from a tower at the rear of the death hulk you are on and explodes into the side of a Duranese warship less than 50 yards away. You watch with horror as soldiers leap from the deck, their clothes and hair in flames. Ah! Oh, it's too warm, too hot, too hot. Where was the warning that this burns? I love my mother. All right. Do we wish to investigate the tower, or do we wish to jump from the ship? I think we should investigate this tower, folks. I'm not going to put it to a poll, because we're running out of time here. We're going to go a little bit later, by the way. I want to finish this. 3, 2, 8. Finish him. 3, 2, 8. 3, 2, 8. If anyone doesn't want to go up the tower, you're cowards, the lot of you. But also, we weren't in combat there, so we get some endurance points back. You know what? Let's drink the potion. That'll give us 4 back, right? We're going to drink the potion. So that puts us back on 22. It's just a feeling I have. 2 zombies try to block your passage, but you cleave them in half with one sweep of the Summa sword. You are at the foot of the tower, and you can now see a hunchbacked man in crimson robes ahead of you. He wears a tall, curved tockmore, a magician's headdress. It bears the emblem of a serpent. In his right hand is a black staff. If you possess a crystal star pendant, turn to 113. We do not. It was stolen from us. If you have the Kai discipline of tracking, we do. Turn to 204. The keen sight you have developed through your Kai discipline of tracking has enabled you to identify the talisman that sits on top of the black staff. It is the crescent and crystal star emblem of the Magicians' Guild of Turan in northern Sommerland. This man is a renegade of the guild and a traitor to your country. If you wish to climb the tower and attack this treacherous magician, turn to 73. If you do not wish to risk your life against this powerful sorcerer, jump overboard by turning to 267. 73. We're not backing out now, right? $73. Kind of wish I hadn't drunk the potion now. We've had so many chapters. I thought we were going to go straight into combat there. The climb is very difficult, for you have only one free hand. The other holds the glowing hilt of the Sommersword. You eventually reach the rim of the tower and quickly hook a leg over the narrow edge. You are about to jump into the tower and attack when a thin voice makes you freeze. How I shall delight in the irony of your death, Lone Wolf. The sorcerer is standing in the far corner of the tower, his left hand pointing at your head. Your quest has failed, Lone Wolf. Now you must die. A blinding flash of orange flame shoots from his hand towards your face. 336. In a fraction of a second, the searing burst of flame changes direction in midair and is drawn towards the blade of the Sommersword. The bolt of energy disappears into the golden blade like water into a drain. The sorcerer curses you. Damn you, Lone Wolf! Pulls a jewel from his ornate Tockmore and throws it at your feet. There is a flash of flame and a cloud of choking green gas billows up in your face, filling your nostrils with its acidic smell. You are forced to jump to the deck below to avoid the poison gas, and you just catch a glimpse of the sorcerer as he frantically paddles a small boat away from the Death Hulk flagship. Oh, the ignominy! A little paddle boat. I could have flown on dragons, but no, I take a little paddle boat. All right, now this is where we go back to the poll. If you wish to dive into the sea and swim after him, turn to 109. That may be pushing our luck. 109. Or we turn to 185 to head back to the Durney's warship. I mean, we could try and push our luck. He has all of the advantage. He's in the boat. He can cast magic. We would be swimming. The Sommersword would have to be in a sheath. But what else can we do? I mean, if we go back, well, maybe now that he's left, the undead are going to collapse. Perhaps that might work. Or perhaps we could tip him out of his boat before he could shoot us with magic. Can magic go underwater? I don't know. There are so many questions in my head right now. But I've only got 14 votes so far, so I'm going to have to keep thinking. Water has never been our friend. This is true. It's always ended up in us losing stuff, which I really don't want to do. So perhaps we should, but perhaps we shouldn't. I don't know. I just don't know. I need just one more. Yeah, I got it. I know what we're going to do. Yes. The poll is in. We're going back to the Durney's warship, 185. As you race along the corpse-littered deck, 2 Drakarim. Let me try that again. 2 Drakarim warriors emerge from a doorway and attack you by surprise. You must fight them one at a time. Oh, how very polite. All right, the first one has a combat skill of 17. These are not undead, so we don't double the damage, sadly. All right, have at you, you horrid thing. The enemy loses 11 endurance points, putting him on 25 minus 11 is 14. And unfortunately, we lose 2, putting us on putting us on 2. All right, you may have hit me, but I shall hit you again. Huzzah! The enemy loses 14. He's dead. We lose nothing. All right, big boy, you're next. This is to the other Drakarim, who's only on 16 combat skill. Oh, we're using Mind Blast. Yes, because it doesn't say that they're immune to Mind Blast. Oops. All right, that's a bit better. Ha-ha! The enemy loses 16, which puts him on 10, and we lose 1, which puts us on 19. I have had enough of the Dark Lords! You rolled a 0. The enemy dies and the hero loses nothing. If you kill them both in combat, you can then jump to the deck of a nearby Duranese ship by turning to 120. Hello, lads. Luck is with you, for you land safely on the deck of the Kelkarm, a Duranese warship. The soldiers here have been involved in a desperate battle, but have fought off the enemy and are cutting the grappling ropes that hold the ship to a death hulk. From out of the smoke strides Lord Axum, his face bloodied and his shield badly scarred.
Thank the gods you're alive, Lone Wolf. The fight has been bitter, and our losses are high, but I am heartened indeed to see you standing before me. Now,
he says, and leads you to the ship's rail.
Look yonder. Their flagship is ablaze.
Through the fog of war, you can see that the huge death hulk is slowly sinking beneath a plume of dense black smoke. The Kelkarm is eventually freed, and slowly it maneuvers out of the tangle of wreckage. A wind begins to stir, filling its tattered sails and carrying away the smoke of battle. Lord Axum orders the royal arms of Duranor to be hoisted aloft so that other ships can rally to the Kelkarm. For the first time since the battle began, you can now see the other Duranese ships. It is an amazing sight, for as the enemy flagship sinks beneath the waves, so every death hulk on the horizon returns to its watery grave.
Their sorcery is broken. We have won this battle,
Lord Axum says. And within a few minutes, not one of the death hulks remains afloat. 225. "70 Duranese warships left Port Bax, but only 50 now enter the Holmgulf. The battle has claimed many brave men, including Admiral Kelfin, who died aboard the flagship Duranor, the first ship to be sunk." Not sure that's a heavy loss for the Navy, to be honest with you. But despite the heavy loss, a great victory has been won. A victory which inspires the Duranese soldiers with their new strength to fight with new strength, so that the past ordeal of both the voyage and the battle are now forgotten. As their optimism and determination return, all are eager to reach Holmgard and raise the siege. It is dusk on the 37th day of your quest when you sight the spires of Holmgard on the horizon. The city still stands defiantly against the armies of Dark Lords, although constantly under siege. Flickering in the darkness, you can see the small fires which burn throughout the capital. A confident Lord Axum joins you at the prow.
"The moonless sky will aid us this night. We shall enter the harbour unseen. Come the dawn, my men will scatter the wretched foe like dead leaves upon the wind of a storm."
As you enter Holmgard harbour at the head of the Duranese fleet, you unsheathe the Sommersword and prepare to fulfill your destiny. 350. Folks, I'm getting tinglings. Holmgard has suffered much since your departure. Many of the shops and houses you remember passing on your way to the quay are little more now than ashes. The Dark Lord's army with their evil engines of war surround the walls, and the flaming arcs of fireballs shooting through the air continually light the night sky as they rain down on the streets below. The people fight the fire as best they can, but they are hungry and exhausted and close to surrender. At first, as it enters the harbour, the fleet is mistaken for the enemy, and cries of despair, can be heard all along the quay. But as the first of the soldiers set foot in the city and unfurl the royal arms of Duranor, the news of your return spreads quickly. The cries of despair, have changed to a chorus of cheers. "The Kai Lord has returned! The Lord has returned! The Kai has returned!" Who's returned? I don't know, some guy. There's a giant 2-page image, which I've never seen because I've never got this far in the book. So thank you for sticking with me. You are standing at the top of the great watchtower, high above the main gate of the city, when the first light of dawn creeps slowly over the horizon. Thousand upon thousand of the black-clad enemy are massed around the city wall, huddled like beetles in the trenches that cover the plain. In the midst of this horde, a great red tent has been erected, bearing the symbol of a broken skull. It is the mark of Zagana, Lord of Karg, a Dark Lord of Helgadad. His great ambition is the destruction of Holmgard, his fiercest desire to lead his army to victory over the House of Ulnar and claim Sommerland for his own. But victory is not to be his this day. Raising the Sommersword high above your head, a shaft of dawn sunlight catches upon the tip of the golden sword, and a brilliant flash of blinding white flame runs the entire length of the blade. The power of the Sommersword electrifies you. Your senses reel, and now your body acts instinctively. You lower the Sommersword and point the blade towards the tent of Lord Zagana. There is a mighty roar as the power of the Sun Sword is unleashed in a searing white beam. The tent explodes, and a brilliant fireball of white flame mushrooms skyward. A long and terrible cry rends the air. Oh, it is Lord Zagana, the leader of the enemy, is no more. Gripped with fear and panic, the vast black armies rise up and run in chaos from the city wall. The impossible has happened. Their invincible master is slain. Again, the Sommersword has returned to defeat them. The army and the allies of Duranor ride out of the city gates in pursuit of the panic-stricken enemy as they run blindly towards the Dernkarg Mountains. The victory is yours. Holmgard is saved, and the murder of the Kai has finally been avenged. But for you, O Lone Wolf, a life of high adventure has only just begun. A new challenge awaits you and the Sommersword in Book 3 of the Lone Wolf series, The Caverns of Kulte. Well, there you go, folks. That's it. That is the end of Book 2. I have never done it. I never got the spear, and when I got the spear, I didn't get out of the thing. It was just brilliant. That was cool. That was cool. I mean, it would be nice if we could use the Sommersword against our enemies. So there you are. But we've been on this journey together, and I want to thank all of you for being on this journey with me. It's been an incredible one. And thank you to all of you for participating and voting and the like. So the question that I have to put to you now, and I put it to the YouTube channel earlier, and I'm just going to see what the results of that vote are. But your votes count the most because you're here. So bear that in mind. I'm just going to look at the poll. My goodness, talk about split. Well, so we could either carry on with the Lone Wolf series, reading book 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 25 or something, although at some point someone's going to have to spot me to buy the last of the books, which I don't yet have. We could either do that, or we switch over to this, which my friends at Modifius sent me a copy to read through. This is Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log, solo role-playing games. It's a solo role-playing game. It is a thick rulebook. There's a lot in here. I have glanced at it, but I got stuck reading all of their trivia about Star Trek. One mistake so far. As a diehard Trekkie, they cataloged beam weapons alongside array weapons. And there's a very specific difference why they're called beams and arrays. But I'm not going to quibble. They had to categorize them somehow, so there we go. Anyway, I love the book. The artwork inside of it is really cool. They play across all of the Star Trek stuff. And supposedly you make your own starship and you sail around and you do some Star Trek stuff. Now, there were some questions on the poll. Would we abandon Lone Wolf forever? The answer is no, we wouldn't. I would postulate that we would play a Star Trek adventure or so. I don't know how it plays out. But if it plays out anything like my channel's advice, where we create an adventure that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, we would then be able to play an adventure in Star Trek and then shift over to Lone Wolf. There's no reason why we can't bounce between the two. The advantage we have with Lone Wolf is that it is page numbers. So we get to use hard and fast page numbers to flip between and to vote on. On the other hand, with Star Trek Adventures, I feel like there are lots of lookup tables. And those lookup tables, if you don't have a copy of this book, could be quite fun to randomly generate by you folks. So there are lots of lookup tables. And so I could say, right, choose a number between 1 and 20. Rather than rolling for it, you would choose the number. So I think that could be quite fun too. Now, we do need to decide, because if we're going to do Star Trek, I have to read the rules as soon as possible, or actually just get hold of Modiphius and say, okay, lads, let's talk about the rules. How does this work? So, interestingly enough, the vote on the YouTube channel was basically split. 49% said Lone Wolf, 41% said Star Trek, and 10% said something else. I haven't read what that something else is. So let me just go there and have a looky-loo very, very quickly. Right. Okay, so that's... I love the comments. I love the comments. So no, we would not lose Lone Wolf forever. Lone Wolf will be on pause. Switching from Lone Wolf to Star Trek sounds like what I did in the 90s. It's exactly what I did. I was Lone Wolfing in the 80s and the early 90s, and I was Star Trekking as soon as it was allowed in South Africa. I was Star Trekking. Yeah, some people haven't been watching these at all, but they're happy that I carry on. So I will put up a poll and you get to vote. There are 34 of you that will guide this decision. We are under no obligation to do either or. It's whatever is appealing to us. If you don't know Star Trek, don't you worry. I will be your guide. I have watched everything that exists on Star Trek. I am one of those nerds. I just love Star Trek. It changed my life. It really did. But then again, so did Lone Wolf. So, you know. All right. There are 38 people watching. So I'm going to leave this poll up for a little bit. Because I feel like getting half of you to vote is great. I really appreciate that. But while you do that, so Caves of Culta. Caves of Culta. Let me get that book. This one I remember as being the Caverns of Culta. Sorry, the Caverns of Culta. Caverns of Culta I remember being particularly fun, but not overly difficult. I don't remember. Book 2 shattered me. It really did. This particular book, we have a new map, which is quite exciting. Where did I get this book from? Was this a... Oh, this was a purchase in 1992. So a purchase for 23 Rand, which is less than £1 today. Right. Season 1 of Picard, yeah, definitely. Season 2 of Picard, the final episode made the whole season bearable, but yeah, it wasn't great. Season 3, of course, is a different story. Well, of 39 people watching, we got 27 votes, which is not bad. It's not bad, and I think I'm going to have to let Modiphius know that they're on their own. They're on their own. Or I might do a special where we just do a Star Trek adventure. Speaking of specials, all right, I'm going to end the poll because we've got just a whole bunch of people here. 28 votes, 28 out of 39. I mean, that's pretty good. Plus, I've got the votes from over there. I will also let the Lone Wolf folks know, the Home Guard Press. They're going to be super excited that we're going to go into book 3. And there you are. Yeah, 1992. Some folks in chat weren't born yet. It was a dark time for the country that I was living in, 1992. Very dark time. Apartheid had not yet ended. But there you go. There you go. Right. I'm ending the poll. We've only got 10 people who didn't vote. So that's absolutely fine. And so ending the poll. Very clear winner. Yep. Very, very, very clear winner here. If the poll will actually go through. Go through poll. Why didn't it go through? Well, it was 62% for Lone Wolf. And there we go, 62% for Lone Wolf, 37% for Star Trek on 29 votes. So thank you all for voting. So we will be doing next week The Caverns of Kulta. And I will have to find this map because, as you can see in the book, the alignment was not great. But that's where we're going. That's where we're going. Now, folks, this is something that's very important. Very, very important. And again, it's going to be another vote. So I'm going to start typing it up now. On Friday, unless I have been greatly mistaken, Baldur's Gate 3 releases. So, I want to do a special playthrough on Friday. But it's going to start earlier, because if you think I'm going to be sitting for the whole Friday waiting to play Baldur's Gate, you're insane! I will be playing that game as soon as I get hold of it, right? I did a playthrough once before and I had a lot of fun. You are invited to join me on that playthrough. I would love to do a playthrough with you. But maybe you don't want to see it. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're like, yeah, it's a computer game. It will never simulate D&D. It's a waste of time. Not interested. I want to play it myself. Something along those lines. So you tell me. And so, yes, I should do it. Or, nah, I'm gonna play later / don't care. So I will do that on Friday, but it's probably gonna start earlier than normal. So my guess would be, say, 3 p.m. rather than 8 p.m. So 5 hours earlier than normal, but it will also just be a long stream. So bear that in mind. We'll go through character creation and we'll start it up. Act 1, I have played through the whole of Act 1 as it stood about a year ago. And that takes a long time. That's like 30 hours of game time because I like to do side quests and stuff like that. So, yes, there are trigger warnings for it. See, chat is already ahead of me. Worms get inserted into your brain. There's lots of tentacles and things if those things are there. And there is the option of going evil. You can turn to the dark side of the alignment system and join the evil forces rather than the good forces. It's not a spoiler alert because you make that decision quite early on. And chat might go that way because obviously, I'm going to be polling some stuff with you. So if you want to join me on that, just let me know. 17 votes. 17 people say, well, not 17 people, but about 16 people say, yes, let's do it. And if you say, nah, I'm going to play it later. That's absolutely honest. So this, I'm saying, is probably going to start at, let's say, 4 p.m. on Friday. 4 p.m. on Friday. That's BST. So whatever the time is now, roll it back for 5.5 hours. So whatever time, 5.5 hours. All right. So there you go. Right. And yes, we will see you next time when we return next week, Tuesday. Otherwise, I'll see you on Friday for some good old fashioned Baldur's Gating. Until then, happy gaming.